For most of my life, the world knew me as the daughter who stayed. I was the anchor in a house of 20 people, always surrounded by noise, chores, and someone else's children. But today, as I stand here in the quiet of my own home in Nebraska, everything has changed. It's January 2026, and I am finally days away from a moment I once wondered if I'd ever see, welcoming my very first baby into a world I built with my own 2 hands. People call my new style sad beige, but to me, these soft colors are the sound of peace. I'm Jana Duggar Wissmann, and today, I'm inviting you inside my sanctuary to see what happens when the anchor finally finds her own shore. This is my story of reclaimed motherhood and the beauty of a life designed by choice. Here is the clean, first-person text for your voice creation. This script for segment 1 is expanded to a full 15-minute narrative pace, focusing on Jana's internal shift as she prepares for her January 2026 milestone. Segment 1T, the great transition, leaving the anchor behind, voiceover duration, 15 minutes, perspective. Jana Duggar Wissmann, for 34 years, I was the one who stayed. In a family that was always growing, always moving, and often surrounded by noise, I was the constant. I was the anchor. If you looked at the big house back in Arkansas, you'd find me in the garden, the laundry room, or the kitchen, keeping the wheels of a 20-person household turning. I loved my brothers and sisters with everything I had, but if I'm being honest with you today, standing here in the first week of 2726, there were moments when the weight of that anchor felt like it was pulling me under. Growing up as the eldest Duggar daughter meant my role was defined before I even understood it. I was the second mother, I was the teacher, I was the peacekeeper. While my sisters married and moved away, I watched from the window. I heard the whispers. Why is she still there? Is she trapped? It wasn't a prison of bars, but it was a prison of duty. I felt that if I left, the structure would crumble. I felt my value was tied to my usefulness, but as 2025 turned into 2026, something inside me finally shifted. I realized you can love your family without losing yourself in them. When Stephen came into my life, it wasn't just a romance, it was a realization that it was finally my turn. Moving to Nebraska wasn't just a relocation, it was a deep breath. I remember the day I packed my bags for this $275 and fixer-upper. Leaving Arkansas meant leaving the only world I had ever known. It meant walking past the umbrella of protection and deciding to hold my own. Crossing that state line, I felt a physical weight lift. Suddenly, I wasn't Jana the Duggar, I was just Jana. The first night in our new home, the silence was so loud it actually kept me awake. I had spent 34 years sleeping in rooms filled with the breathing of sisters. Now, it was just the wind over the Nebraska plains and the quiet heartbeat of a new life. That silence is what led to what you now see in my home, my beige life. People laugh at the neutrals and the creams, but they don't understand. To me, beige isn't boring, it's peace. It's a clean slate. Every room I renovated this past year was a part of my healing. When I was stripping the old wallpaper and sanding the floors, I was sanding away the expectations of the big house. I was deciding that my home would be a place of calm, not chaos. I was reclaiming my hands. The same hands that changed 1,000 diapers in Tontatown were now building a custom pantry for my family. As I prepare to welcome my son this January, I realize the transition is complete. I am no longer the anchor holding a massive ship in place. I am the captain of my own small, quiet vessel. To anyone who feels stuck in a role they didn't choose, the walls don't have to fall for you to be free. You just have to have the courage to walk through the door and keep driving until the horizon looks different. Oh, walking into this room always makes me take a deep breath. It's the smallest room in our Nebraska home, but for me, it is the most significant. For decades, I was the one setting up cribs for my mother and later for my sisters. I've organized dozens of nurseries, but they were always for someone else's dream. Now, in January 2026, I am standing in a space that belongs to my son. The world remembers me as the ultimate sister mom. I grew up in a system where children were raised by other children, a factory of constant motion with diapers, bottles, and laundry on repeat. I learned everything about babies before I was even a teenager, but that experience came with a cost. It made me wonder if I would ever have anything left in my own heart to give to a child of my own. People ask me, Jana, aren't you worried you'll fall back into those old patterns? My answer is in the design of this nursery. In the big house, nurseries were utilitarian, built for high turnover. Here, everything is intentional. Since we bought this fixer-upper for $275,000, Stephen and I have worked side by side to make this house a home. I've spent months hand-selecting every texture, from the organic cotton sheets to the soft, natural wood of the crib. This isn't just a room, it's a boundary. It's my way of saying that my son will be raised in an environment of calm, not a crowd. He won't be a buddy in a system, he will be an individual. I know the beige aesthetic gets a lot of criticism online. People ask, where is the color? Where is the fun? But for me, color was always associated with the overwhelming noise of my past. I wanted the opposite. I wanted a sanctuary. I chose shades of oatmeal, cream, and soft sage because they allow the mind to rest. Every detail here, the minimalist rocking chair, the single shelf of wooden toys, the soft glow of the amber lamp, is a choice to live a slower life. I'm not just decorating a room, I'm deconstructing a lifestyle. As the due date approaches this January, the anticipation in our home is building. I tell my son that he is free. He won't grow up behind the walls of a compound. He will grow up with the wide Nebraska sky outside his window and a mother who finally knows who she is. This is the new Duggar Wissmann legacy, one built on choice, quiet strength, and a very beautiful shade of beige. The winter in Nebraska is unlike anything I ever experienced in Arkansas. Back home, winter was just a brief pause, but here it is a season that demands respect. As I look out my window at the snow-covered plains this January 2026, I am struck by how much my life has changed in just 1 year. Last winter, I was still navigating the transition of being a newlide. This winter, I am a woman on the verge of the greatest transformation of all motherhood. I remember telling my family before the move that I would miss the quiet mornings on the farm and the baby sheep in the spring, and I do miss them. But there is a different kind of peace here in Milford. People think of Nebraska as the middle of nowhere, but to me, it's the middle of somewhere. It's the middle of my own life. Adjusting to city life after the farm was an adjustment. I went from a compound where I was never truly alone to a home where the silence was my only companion while Stephen was at work. In those early winter months, I had to learn how to be okay with just my own thoughts. I spent that time finishing our home projects, insulating the garage door so it stayed warm during these brutal freezes, and fixing up the fence outside. Working with my hands in the cold taught me that I am stronger and more capable than I ever realized when I was just helping back home. It's now January 2026, the month Stephen and I have been counting down to since August. The anticipation in our home is building every single day. I recently shared some photos on Instagram, snapping mirror selfies in my leggings and a long sleeve shirt, just marveling at how much my body has changed. I am in awe of this little guy moving inside me. Every kick is a reminder that I am building a life that is entirely separate from the reality show world I grew up in. Even my hair is different. I chopped it off shortly after the pregnancy announcement because I wanted to feel like a new person for this new chapter. In the big house, we were often encouraged to keep our hair long and traditional. This short, stylish cut is my way of saying that I'm not just a character in a story anymore. I'm a woman making her own choices for her own family. While the wind howls outside at 30 below zero, our home is a warm, serene escape. I've filled the living room with houseplants that are surprisingly thriving in this climate. A little bit of green in a world of white. I look at the expansive wooden dining table I picked out, big enough to seat 8 people. It's ready for when my family comes to visit, but for now, it's a place where Stephen and I sit and talk about our future. I'm entering these final days of pregnancy not with fear, but with a deep sense of warmth. I've realized that independence isn't about being alone. It's about having the freedom to choose who you are with and how you live. This January 2026 isn't just the start of a new year, it's the birth of a new legacy. The anchor is gone, the winter is here, and for the first time in 35 years, I am exactly where I chose to be. As I sit here in my quiet home in Nebraska, watching the snow drift past the windows, my heart often wanders back to Arkansas. This January 2026 is a month of waiting for me, but it is also a month of reflection. I find myself thinking about my sisters, all 8 of them. For so many years, we were a unit, a pack, a group. But standing here today, I realize that the greatest gift we have ever given each other is the permission to be individuals. People often ask if there is tension now that we are all so scattered. Jinger is in California, Jill is on her own journey, and here I am in Nebraska. We even had a rare reunion recently where almost all of us were together. And it hit me, we are no longer just the Duggar girls. We are women who have chosen our own lives. To my younger sisters, Johanna, Jennifer, Jordan, and Josiah, I want you to know that watching you grow up is different for me than it was with the older girls. When I look at you, I don't see helpers or buddies. I see young women with voices. I see you navigating a world that is much bigger than the one I knew at your age. My message to you is this: don't feel like you have to be the anchor. You don't have to stay to prove your love. You are allowed to walk past the walls, just like I did, and find your own shore. Your value isn't in how much you do for the family. It's in who you are as a person. It's also such a surreal feeling to be sharing this 2026 milestone with my twin brother, John David. We've shared everything from birth, and now we are sharing the anticipation of new life. In our joint gender reveal back in November, we found out I'm having a boy, and he and Abby are welcoming a girl. John David was one of the first people to support my move to Nebraska. He knew, perhaps better than anyone, that I needed to find my own space to breathe. Seeing him and Abby raise their children with so much grace and modern perspective gives me so much hope. We are the older twins, the ones who saw the beginning of it all, and now we are the ones leading our families into a future that feels lighter and freer. Our children will grow up together knowing that their parents chose a different path, one built on love and choice rather than just tradition. I used to think that being the anchor was the highest calling I could have. I thought that if I let go, everything would fall apart. But I've learned that a real anchor doesn't just hold things down. It eventually gets pulled up so the ship can actually sail. In these final days of January 2026, as I wait to meet my son, I am no longer holding anything down. I am sailing. I have traded the big house for a 275 Zalosen fixer-upper that I turned into a sanctuary. I have traded the sister-mom role for a chance to be a mother on my own terms. And most importantly, I have traded the walls of expectation for the freedom of choice. To anyone watching, and especially to my sisters, the walls only have power if you stay inside them. Once you walk past them, you realize they were never as high as they looked. This is my legacy. This is my choice, and I wouldn't trade this quiet, beige, beautiful life in Nebraska for anything in the world. The air in Nebraska this January 2026 is cold, but inside our home, there is a warmth I have never felt before. They say that when a baby is born, a mother is born too. But for me, it feels like I am being born again alongside him. For 35 years, I lived for everyone else. Today, I live for the little boy who is finally here, sleeping in the nursery I built for him. The first 2 weeks of January were a blur of anticipation, as I called it on Instagram. Every time I caught my reflection in the mirror, snapping those final bump selfies in my black leggings and white sneakers, I couldn't help but smile. My body, which I had spent so many years using to serve others, was finally doing the most miraculous work of all. I felt a sense of peace that I can't quite describe. I wasn't just waiting for a baby, I was waiting for the person who would officially make this $275 fixer upper a home. Stephen has been my rock through it all, making sure the house was warm and the garage was insulated against the Nebraska freeze. We were ready. When the moment finally arrived, it wasn't like the births I grew up with. There were no camera crews, no crowds of people in the hallway, and no pressure to perform. It was quiet. It was private. It was ours. Holding my son for the first time, I realized that I had finally broken the cycle. He isn't the 20th grandchild or another buddy in a system. He is our little guy, the start of the Wissmann legacy. Looking down at him, I realized that the beige life I created was for this moment. In this calm, neutral, toned room, he isn't overstimulated by chaos. He is surrounded by the serenity I fought so hard to find. I thought about my parents back in Tontatown and my sisters scattered across the country. I felt so much love for them, but I also felt a profound sense of relief that my son will never know the weight of the walls I had to walk past. As we head into the rest of 2026, people are still talking. They're talking about the Duggar 9 sister reunion, about our joint gender reveal with John, David, and Abby, and about how much I've changed. But the truth is, I haven't just changed, I've arrived. I'm no longer the Ancher who stayed behind. I am a mother who moved forward. I've traded the sister, mom title for the only title that matters to me now, mom. This January has been the most beautiful month of my life because it proves that it is never too late to start over. It's never too late to build your own sanctuary. To everyone who watched me for all those years, thank you for your prayers. But I want you to know the Cinderella story is over. The real story, my story, is just beginning. Welcome home, little one. You were worth every mile and every choice. People often ask me, Jill, are you ever going back to the big house? Is the war finally over? Standing here in January 2026, my answer is I never left my family, I only found myself. For years, it felt like I was walking through fire, releasing my book Counting the Cost, sharing our story in documentaries, and choosing a life that looked very different from the one I was raised in. But today, I want to talk about what I call our rebuilding phase. It's not about erasing the past. It's about deciding what the future looks like on my own terms. You might have seen the photos from this past Christmas. For the first time in a very long time, Derick, the boys, and I were back at the Duggar compound in Arkansas. I know it shocked a lot of you. There was a time when we weren't even invited, or we only saw my parents at weddings and funerals. But 2026 feels different. We are in a season where we are saying ayes to family events again, but with healthy boundaries firmly in place. Derick and my dad actually spoke. Not a deep, emotional heart-to-heart, but a civil conversation. It's like we are taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. I love my parents, but I am no longer that little girl who is afraid to say no. We are protecting our core family, Israel, Samuel, and little Freddie. while trying to navigate the bandwidth it takes to be around the chaos of the big house. We are guests now, not subjects, and that distinction has made all the difference. One of the biggest shifts this year came after reading my cousin Amy's new book, Holy Disruptor. Amy and I have always been close, but even I was blindsided by some of the things she uncovered about our family's history, specifically about our grandpa Jimmy Lee. Hearing the truth about the cycles of behavior that started long before I was born was a massive oha moment for me. It made me realize that the rebuilding isn't just about my relationship with my parents. It's about deconstructing the myths we were told. In 2026, my sisters and I are talking more than ever. Whether it's Jinger in LA or Jana in Nebraska, we are sharing our truths. We are no longer competing for our father's approval. We are supporting each other's freedom. We are realizing that shaking the table wasn't an act of rebellion. It was an act of love for the next generation. As we look ahead at the rest of 2026, our lives look so different. Derick has started a new chapter as an adjunct professor at John Brown University, and I am leaning into my role as a writer and an advocate. We are still the pants-wearing, nose-ring-sporting branch of the family, and we're okay with that. My 2026 manifesto is simple. I will not sacrifice my peace for the sake of a perfect family photo. Rebuilding takes time. It takes patience. And sometimes it takes walking away to realize what is worth coming back for. The walls of the compound didn't have to fall for me to be happy. I just had to realize they couldn't hold me anymore. This year, we aren't just counting the cost. We are finally enjoying the harvest of a life lived in the light. As I sit at my dining table this morning in January 2026, the house is filled with a different kind of energy. For years, people knew me as the first Duggar daughter to break the mold by sending my oldest son, Israel, to public school. It was a huge statement at the time, a sign of our independence. But as we start this new year, I want to share something that might surprise you. We have decided to bring the boys back home. We are homeschooling again. I know what you're thinking. Jill, didn't you leave that life behind? But that's the beauty of the journey we've been on since 2024. Independence isn't about doing the opposite of what you were taught. It's about having the freedom to choose what is best for your family in this season. When Israel first started kindergarten in public school, it was what we needed. But as our family grew and as we navigated the heavy loss of our daughter, Isla Marie, last year, we realized we wanted more time together. Israel is 10 now, Samuel is 8, and little Freddie is 3. This isn't the ABLP version of homeschooling where education is a tool for control. This is our version. It's flexible, it's full of questions, and most importantly, it's based on reality. I'm not just a teacher, I'm a mother who is learning right alongside them. We reevaluate every year, and for 2026, this is our rebuilding phase. Isn't just happening in the classroom, it's happening in our careers too. I am so incredibly proud of Derick. Just a few months ago, at the end of 2025, he started a new position as an adjunct professor at John Brown University. Seeing him move into the world of academia while still practicing law is such a testament to how far we've come. There was a time when my family's world felt so small, where higher education was almost discouraged. Now, my husband is helping shape the minds of the next generation of law students. It's a bit of a juggle, with him teaching and me managing the boys' schooling, but it feels right. We aren't just counting the cost anymore. We are building a foundation. We are showing our sons that you can be people of faith and people of the world at the same time. I've received a lot of comments about my style lately, the nose ring, the jeans, the way I carry myself. Some people think it's rebellion, but in 2026, I call it authenticity. I am finally at a place where I don't need a million people to approve of my choices. This January, as we navigate our rebuilding phase with my parents and siblings, I am keeping my peace protected. We see the family more often now, not just at weddings or funerals, but we do it with bandwidth. If it's too much, we step back. If it's healthy, we stay. My peace doesn't belong to Jim Bob or the public. It belongs to God and my family. I am Jill Duggar Dillard, and in 2026, I am finally living a life that is truly unapologetically mine. We are taking it a couple of steps forward and sometimes a step back, but we are moving toward the light. One of the most common questions I see in my comments is about my sisters. People want to know, Jill, are you still close with Jessa? Or does Jinger support you now that you've both written your books? Standing here in January 2026, the answer is a beautiful, complicated eyes. Our bond was forged in a very specific, high-pressure world, and while our lives look different now, that sisterhood is something that can't be easily broken. Jinger and I have a very special connection right now. We are both authors of our own stories. Literally. When she released Becoming Free Indeed, and I released Counting the Cost, the world tried to pit us against each other. They said her book was too soft, on our parents, and mine was too hard. But Jinger and I don't see it that way. In late 2025, we had a rare reunion in Texas during a women's conference where Jinger was speaking. Seeing her up there, confidently using her voice, made me so proud. We caught up behind the scenes, away from the cameras. We talk about deconstruction, not as a scary word, but as a process of finding what's true. Even though she's in California and I'm in Arkansas, we FaceTime often. Our kids, her 3 and my 3, get to see each other on screen, and that matters to me. We are both mothers trying to raise our children in the light, without the fear and control we grew up with. She is my sister in every sense of the word. Now, Jess's path is a bit different. She is still very much a part of the world in Arkansas, living close to the family and raising her 6 beautiful children, with baby number 6 arriving just this past year. For a long time, people assumed Jessa and I were odds because she stayed closer to our parents' lifestyle. But if 2025 taught me anything, it's that you can have different boundaries and still have love. Jessa has been a bridge for me. Even when things were at their worst with my dad, Jessa was often the one who would reach out or visit with her kids. We recently spent time together at a vintage market with all our children, and for those few hours, we weren't reality stars or feuding sisters. We were just 2 moms comparing notes on homeschooling and toddler tantrums. Jessa is incredibly strong and very protective of the family. While she might not agree with everything I wrote in my book, she has shown me through her actions that I am still her sister. We've learned that we don't have to agree on everything to stay connected. This past Christmas 2025 was a milestone. All 9 of us sisters, plus my mom, Michelle, managed to get together for a photo and even a fun social media reel. Seeing everyone from Jana down to Josie in one room felt like a victory. There was a time when I thought my choices would cost me these relationships forever. But in 2026, I see that the Duggar sisters are evolving into the Duggar women. We aren't just a group of girls in matching dresses anymore. We are individuals. Some of us wear pants, some wear skirts. Some of us live in California or Nebraska, and some stayed in Arkansas. But when we are together, the laughter is the same. My relationship with Jessa and Jinger is proof that you can choose your own path without burning every bridge behind you. We are rebuilding, we are growing, and most importantly, we are finally doing it on our own terms. As the sun sets on January 2026, I find myself looking out the window at the quiet world outside. For 35 years, My identity was defined by a last name, a reality show, and a set of rules I didn't write. But today, the story is different. We aren't just the Duggar girls anymore. We are women who have chosen our own light. In Nebraska, my sister Jana is holding her newborn son, a little guy who will grow up in a home built on peace and intentionality, far from the cameras and the chaos of our childhood. And here in Arkansas, my husband Derick and I are walking through our own rebuilding phase. We've proven that you can love your family without losing your soul. We've shown that you can walk past the walls of a compound and find that the horizon is much wider than we were ever told. Whether it's Jana's Beige Sanctuary or my manifesto of independence, the message is the same. The cycle stops with us. We are the architects of a new legacy, one where our children are raised to be individuals, not just numbers in a system. We've traded the anchor that held us down for the sails that are now carrying us forward. To everyone who has followed our journey from the beginning, thank you. You saw us as children, you watched us struggle as young adults, and now you see us as women in our mid-30s who finally have a voice. Our stories aren't perfect. They are messy, they are raw, and they are still being written. If you feel stuck in a role you didn't choose, or if you feel like the weight of your past is too heavy to carry, let our 2026 journey be your proof. You don't have to hate where you came from to move toward where you're going. You just have to have the courage to take that first step across the state line, or the first step toward your own truth. The sister mom era is over. The reality TV era is behind us. 2026 is the year of the woman. It's the year of the mother. It's the year we finally came home to ourselves. Thank you for being part of this viral special. Next time we talk, there will be more baby updates from Nebraska and more milestones from our growing family here. But until then, remember, your peace is worth the cost. Keep building your sanctuary. I'm Duggar Dillard, and this is our new beginning. Good night, and God bless.